What's up, Go enthusiasts? Welcome back to Pro Recaps, particularly Pro Qual Recaps. This is game one of the most recent North American Pro Quals where Guan Yu's song became a 1-dan pro. Wanted to take a look and congratulate Guan Yu on his win. He was well deserved. I mean, he was definitely the pre-tournament favorite, the during tournament favorite, after tournament favorite. He's by far the strongest player, I think, in the Pro Quals this year. Really, really good at the game. And we're going to see how he played against Eric Yoder in the finals. Eric Yoder, one of the most exciting players in the North American Go scene. And so Eric is a bit better in the opening, I think, than Guan Yu, and he tries to use that. He's studied more, so he uses some of his studies here. This Triseki had actually happened in some earlier game in the tournament, and some mischief and questionable things had happened. So Eric is hoping that Guan Yu had not studied that mischief, and that he can catch Guan Yu and get a sizable opening advantage. Actually, already the upper left, me personally, I think that's comfortable for black. I think that position is pretty hard for white to play, especially when the outside black is pointed towards like an empty area that you can use it as influence here. Anyway, this variation, of course, the more common ways that black is doing this start with this one. But instead, Eric chooses a complicated sideline of the complicated Joseki that people already find difficult. And here, Guan Yu actually knew. So he had done his research, and he knew that he's supposed to cut here. And he knew basically everything of what was going to continue, about what the correct way to play in this bottom left corner really was. So Eric had his sort of trap prepared that he could extend here. It's not really a trap, this is just a good move, and it's going to follow into some very complicated variations here, but both of them are going to play it perfectly. So right now, Eric has invested basically influence into the left side of the board, and he's ready to attack anything and everything that White has hanging around here. However, black's groups, 2 stones, 3 stones, 1 stone, they're all quite weak themselves, so with the correct play, Guan Yu can organize something where actually black is going to kind of collapse. So, Guan Yu, knowing exactly how to do that, he plays the Atari first. And black has to extend. If black would have chosen to fall back at this moment, then when white captures here, not only is the influence really good, but it's also really annoying the Aji that's left in the corner. So if black ignores it, later on there's going to be this kind of stuff where white is actually counterattacking those 4 stones in the center, and you can see the black corner became really small and white is getting a lot of power everywhere. So that's not really acceptable. That's why black has to extend here, and then white descends in the corner. Perfect. So what is it doing? It's threatening to chase these 2 stones. He had to do the Atari first, because otherwise his stones were going to get netted here. That would have been very, very sad. So instead, Atari first, expand the liberties 1 step, and then descend here. And this is forcing against those 2 stones. So black answers with a churn, Guan Yu keeps the threat, and black has to answer over here. So now you can see black's left side became much, much more thick than the previous variation. So that's really good for black, and white has to get something back from that. Fortunately, not really fortunately, it's all studied and prepared by the AI, but Guan Yu has exactly the move that he needs, which is to descend here. And now these 3 stones on the bottom side, they are caught, they're dead. And normally, if you were just reading this from afar and you were like first time encountering this, you would think, oh, this must be a good variation for white if you read it. Because you're looking at this and thinking, wow, white just stole all the territory away and got perfectly strong capturing those 3 stones. And, what is black supposed to really have from this? Originally, this was black's corner enclosure, right? Like if we roll back to the start of this, I guess I'll keep the white territory there. At the beginning, this was black's corner enclosure, and white is just attached, and then look for the white box. That's such a big white box. We can't give that, right? Surely not. But actually you can. And Eric, of course, had it all studied, all figured out. He knew he can turn here like this, and then when white turns like that, there is a net in the center. So this isn't going to kill those outside stones, because white can capture the 3 stones on the bottom side first. But when white pushes through and comes back to capture, black can take sente, and black has already gotten a very much bigger influence than you would sort of expect just looking at this position. It's really, really valuable to have either sente move here. that black wants. And in fact, not even necessarily those sente, but if white would like change the shape, other sente later as well. Basically, this this shape where you can Atari white is much, much better than a shape where you actually have Atari white. It's like really meaningful that black chose not to just bang Atari and let white capture. In this way, then you would see there's lots of cutting points remaining in the black shape. But as is, before anything happening, there's basically no way for white to ever run out there, because black can just choose which sente that he wants later to precisely stop whatever fighting that white wants to go for. So this shape right now is actually, it's a really thick wall that black has built, and it starts to outline a big potential area on the left side of the board here. So Eric chooses to go into the bottom right, and that's looking to reduce this area. If Eric can get away with reducing this bottom right and keeping a big left side, he should be in a lead in the overall state of the game right now. However, of course, it's going to be complicated. So they play another Joseki here, where Eric is looking to go into the corner, and white takes the outside. Well, why did white take the outside? It's just pointing towards black's thickness, except the thickness has a cut. So this is the only reason why Guan Yu can play that particular Joseki in the bottom right, is to justify this cut. Honestly, it still might not be that justifiable. It really needs to be a severe attack on these bottom side black stones now. So black extends and saves them like this. At this point, I think if black would have dared white to attack it and taken some control, like just connecting here in the corner, then probably black would be in a slight advantage. At least I would feel comfortable for black here. But instead, Eric defended directly, and so that is a big move for territory and for thickness of those stones. It's really comfortable. Especially, by the way, this is like the game that they play after 5 games of really hard games against other pro qual opponents, and winning all those to get to the finals is really tough. So understandable by Eric to take a like slightly softer, easier route here to take some territory, but it let Guan Yu establish a pretty strong looking sort of break and double attack, where now the corner group of black is going to get in danger and the bottom side group of black is going to get in danger. Eric had a pretty interesting idea to try to cover that, so he chose to Atari here, which is a negative exchange. Most people are not going to try to make that exchange, but the reason why he does it is to take sente to Hane and break through this area. So it would be more interesting for black to play, or not more interesting, more normal for black to play something like Descend locally, but then he thought when white captures, this group can still have life and death issues and the Atari won't be his sente later to fix them. So it's a little bit suspicious. So instead, maybe he would have to play something like Slide, like that. And then when white comes to this area, he can never use that cutting weakness again if white can go to the 2-1 like this. So he's thinking, okay, I can fix that issue right now. So now if white captures, he can still get into the corner. And connecting here should be my sente to be able to play on this side. And it was a pretty sensible way, I think, to play everything. Very, very concrete way to play everything. But there was only really one way it was going to make sense. And it's not the way that Eric played. In the game, he just backed off like this. And then white got to block. So now not only is the black group enclosed and with a slightly bad exchange, so really small, but white also managed to somehow just block the entire right side. And of course, I mean, this is enormous. This is way too big. And Guan Yu has a clear advantage in the game now. And Eric had a chance to stop it. He could have gone and continued with his plan to just cut like this. Then white would, of course, countercut, and black would have to save it like that. And this would be very dangerous, because now white can play back like this, and we're putting pressure on the black bottom side, and we're putting pressure on the black center group, and putting pressure on the black corner. But basically, I mean, black can still save the bottom side. I don't know if it's the most accurate thing to do, to just save it, but you can, it's easy. And after that, you have to compare. What do you feel more comfortable with? Black group, which is like handling itself on the right side, or a complete white wall? Like, of course, when you give the black group here, white is going to get a lot of benefit from that, to be able to handle the group on the side here and to handle everything together. This is going to be pretty complicated, and white has some chances to play. But if you compared like having a group here versus not having a group and white just has a wall is not even close. Even if black ends up like dying with this group, it's only going to be as bad as it was in the other variation, right? And of course, we probably should not die with that group. It wasn't surroundable. So this back off it comes from the same place of Eric's mind as this 73, which is like, we're still early in the game. Let's relax a bit. We don't have to go all in. Let's calm down, do things rationally, be a normal human being, right? That's what Eric is trying to do. But in this case, he had to do things irrationally and not normally if he's going to make the bad exchanges first, right? Like this kind of Atari to just feed the white's thickness, this kind of connect, not sliding in, but allowing white to block. If you make these bad exchanges and let the opponent get benefit, then you need to get your benefit back. And then when he doesn't, now he's behind. So Guan Yu has an advantage. And it is pretty interesting because the whole board is still open. Like the right side is still open, the left side is still open, the top side is still open, everything is still open. So keeping this kind of advantage through to the end of the game is quite difficult. But Guan Yu's strength, his greatest ability as a player, is to play the second half of the game, to control games, to gain advantages in the second half. So we're going to see him try his best here to make this clear. First, he attacks from the outside. Notable. We don't want to come back from the inside here, even though we could finish off this area, because if black comes in, that's just going to make things worse for black. So black has to fall back like this, right? And what we've done is we've given ourselves a route to the left side and an attacking group, and we can still fall back to finish this right side later. So still black is not going to be coming in himself. We have an exchange like that for white to increase the endgame condition as best he can, so his right side becomes as big as possible. And all he has to do now is handle the left and the top side. Eric's moves, by the way, in the center were quite good. I mean, he managed to solidify the top and come in, so nothing was wrong there. White still just has a small advantage. And white comes in like this. So this is going to start a Joseki, basically, sequence, maybe after Joseki, which everybody knows. Everybody knows you can Atari and go into the corner like that, and then white can't locally live, but white has some outside stuff. So white can attach here. If this was not part of the common like Joseki parlance, then I don't think anybody would be coming up with this kind of attach very easily in the game, but because everybody knows it, is a lot more common. And attach here, same thing. Everybody knows it, so it's a lot more common. What is the point of this? Well, black has to back off, because if black doesn't back off like that, there's going to be some sequences we can play. Sometimes you can play Descent, but you can play Atari and this way. And then there's a few things that you can do. You can play directly here. Wait, let me make sure I get it right. Probably directly here is best. So aiming at the ladder without expanding. Do we want to get a liberty and then give up? I'm actually not sure. You can also exchange it like this here, I think. Maybe you can't. The precise details, to be honest, I'm out of, but this is the general sequence that people know, is that there's going to be some kind of sacrifice like this, where black is going to be solid. Oh, maybe it's like black was not supposed to put the stone inside there, but after this extend, black should put the stone outside there. I was thinking maybe after this, and then black could go inside, but this is really bad. Same problem, that black spends all his moves inside. Anyway, point is, you can see, if black would have cut here, then white would have gotten a wall in that direction, and would have been able to play on the left side here to good effect. So instead of doing that, black plays here. And the intent is to make sure that the left side is not so easy for black to, to get broken in. It should be, ideally, black is still getting all of that, and he gets more towards this area. Like he wants more than is expected here, and then he can come back into the game. Well, Guan Yu had the wrong idea, actually, about how exactly this works. He knew up through here, he knew the sacrifice is working, but he had the wrong understanding of why this is good. He thought, we're supposed to exchange these because black can't come in, and when black doesn't come in, we get to break this way. And when you get to make a broken knight's move and run out, that should be good. We should be able to break black's shape and save our group, and it's great. But that's actually not the right way, and this gets him in so much trouble. What he should have done here is just something soft without necessarily trying to break things right away. I mean, there are many soft options to do. Let's say just jump here, or maybe Hane is possible, or just in general floating a stone randomly. If he would have left this area on the top side, basically what's happened is that he's gotten the most outside value from those 3 stones already. Just the fact that he can threaten to save over here is valuable enough. But when he actually does it, like this means suddenly he's committed to those stones. Now, when Eric attacks from the outside, if White dies with all those stones, it's going to be a lot of bad exchanges, because what has committed put some more stones inside, making Black's territory bigger, right? So this game suddenly became really difficult for White, and he chooses to wedge, or he chooses to attach like this, and Eric chooses to wedge. So Eric is just forcing this White to run straight into where he just got some forcing moves and some thickness. This is really scary, actually, for Guan Yu. Yeah, there was other options as well. You could probably... I think this one was an easier read, to be honest, than the wedge, that this one is going to have a strong attack. But this wedge was fine. It was also playable. And from here, Eric had clearly seen, I think, when he wedged, he knew, okay, White can Atari me, extend, and if he does that, I can block like this. So this is all part of Eric's plan, which is, go ahead, White, you can run that way. That doesn't seem very appetizing because I've got my stones already there, and when you do run that way, I will be running that way. And what happens when I run that way is very simple. I get all that. That's all mine, for sure. If it all becomes Black's, and Black still gets this area, actually Black has enough. Black is going to be leading. And this kind of language it's really difficult for White to deal with. So White tries extending. He has to run out his group, and Black runs, guiding White along the path that Black wants White to go on. And White plays this cut. So Black turns here, good move, to keep the White eye shape in contention. And Black forced White to block like this. So now if White falls back, then White can manage to make 2 eyes. Actually, Black could already allow that, and he would already be leading in the game. So if he would have just done something silly like, I don't know, blocking here and letting White capture this, then Black has a small lead in this game. He can continue some move to block the bottom side entrance, to look at counterattacking here, and just saying I have the whole left side. Apparently AI says this is Black +1, Black +2, something like that. So small lead. Eric wanted more. He wanted to capture and to connect like this. So now White has to continue to run and pay more to Black. There were some crazy AI variations where White could save this really well. Honestly, I was kind of impressed by just how Guan Yu did it, which lost like a lot, even though it was successful. So what Guan Yu did is he exchanged all these moves, all Sente. Black has to answer those, and then he Haned here, which Black cannot answer due to the fact that there's a cut on this side and a cut over here, and Guan Yu is going to use all those cuts to make a counterattack. So Black had to connect like this and just let Guan Yu connect through. Even though Black can Atari here, White can still connect through like that. So that was honestly, to me, it was quite a nice method of saving. The AI and Michael Redmond, when he was doing commentary on this, were both saying, like, you really shouldn't use these exchanges up. Like, these exchanges were really bad. If instead you would have just waited on them, you could have used them in other ways. And basically, the problem for White is that this end result is one where Black is establishing that huge left side, very easily, comparatively, and has the top side quite easily as well, comparatively, and is entering to this area as well. So, like, Black is getting the best of all worlds, and what White had to do was to hope to get more counterattack. So, like, White should play some active moves in this area. Excuse me. Some stuff like this, and then like here or something, and like don't touch the left side at all, and hope to be attacking Black more than being attacked yourself. I mean, I can imagine that if it works, it's going to be better because we don't make the bad exchanges over here, which give black more movement that way. But in terms of actually doing the reading now and having everything read out, every attack that black can do, I know what to do against it. Every single thing I'm ready for it's just really hard. It's just really hard. So in terms of like practical reading power, especially, you know, long tournaments so far, doing a straightforward way like Guan Yu is like much more humanly feasible. This way, he had a clear read of what was going to happen when black made the countercuts. He could clearly make something happen, and then he manages to connect. So solved, problem solved, right? But black is now leading by 5 points, by 6 points. So it's a pretty sizable lead at this level. But black has to use it. And what he does now is he protects his ladder here by playing, after the Atari, this one. Also, the Atari was kind of an unnecessary exchange. You could have just not done that, and it would have been a bit better to not give black, or to not give white an extra stone for the center. Anyway, this move is one of the most regretful moves. I think Eric told me after the game that like this is the problem. I'll never defend over here again. Lesson learned. And yeah, I agree. This one is clearly a problem. He fixed the ladder directly, right? But instead of doing that, he could have done it this way. And then still with this ladder here, he can use it, he can push it, push it a bit forward, and use this stone. And it's a bit more complicated of a ladder, but there's a big difference between these two moves. The defending move that he plays here and the proper move to defend it outside. The difference is how big exactly is this box gonna be on the left side. And you can see this 139 move clearly outlines more than the moves that that Eric played. When Eric played that way, then Guan Yu said, "Oh, you only want to take it that small? Then take it. I'll give it to you." And Eric just said, "Okay, I'll take the, I get 5th line territory, 6th line territory. That's great." But it wasn't great enough. Already his advantage dissipated just like that. Because instead of getting 5th line territory, you could have gotten more. It doesn't matter how high the line of territory that you're building is. How good it is dependent on how much you're supposed to be getting, right? So if you aren't supposed to be getting much and you get 6th line territory, that's great. But if you're supposed to get 9th line territory and you get 6th line territory, you should resign. It's terrible, right? So in this case, he managed to build massive influences, right? Gives away the top side, gives away the bottom left corner, massive influences on both sides. You need to get a lot. To only build a 6th line, 5th line territory is actually not enough here. And furthermore, he messed up how to use this white problem. I said earlier, this is actually very thick. It's a lot thicker than just having some sente move, yeah? If black would exchange the sente move now, you would already see, hang on a second, maybe I can make some counterattack, something like this. It seems dubious that white can really go all the way in when black has that extra thickness. But the actual position is much better than black having that Atari. It doesn't really look like that. Somehow, like visually speaking, it looks like there's some white stones facing. But this is not white stones facing that stone. This is more like black stones facing that stone. So black should have immediately gone in and cut it. This stone is an overplay, to be honest. It's just too far from Guan Yu. Visually seems like it should be fine, but if you play this one, I'm pretty sure that stone is just dead. This is sort of a classic connection that, I'll just use whatever Ataris I get available. And yeah, obviously, if here, then I can break it and connect, and that's bad. No one needs to be told that, right? Here, then I'd break it. Oh, that was bad, right? I think some people were saying, wow, what a weird move to jump here from your cutting stone. No, it's not weird at all from this kind of shape. But you have to be familiar with this kind of shape. So I think this is probably Eric's first time playing this Joseki in a real game. And probably it struck him a little bit by surprise exactly how much he's supposed to attack with this much power. But this is actually, as I showed you, it's much more power than just having an extra stone. And already one extra stone would be enough that you want to counterattack here. So the decision to be passive like this, first passive with how he's saving the ladder, and then passive with how he's counterattacking white's reduction. You can see Guan Yu's strength in the later stages of the game. Something can just sort of dissipate for black when black isn't paying attention, without Guan Yu even really like targeting something. The value is lost. But that's not to say Guan Yu doesn't know how to target anything. Guan Yu is very good at targeting things to gain back in the second half of the game, and that's what he's about to do here as well. Yeah, black makes a somewhat baffling move here to save the 2 stones, which is already pretty small if Guan Yu plays normally after that. But Guan Yu also was sharp enough to realize that he can just cut at this point. And there's a lot of Aji, so it doesn't seem very obvious that this would work for white, that white can actually manage to save those 2 stones and those 2 stones. Like, if white can save every cutting stone, obviously it's great, but Eric sort of thought this should be a strong enough shape, just casually, without really reading it. But Guan Yu read it when Eric played that fatal connection here. And now, yeah, Eric is going to try for some tricks, but there was nothing. No matter how Eric played this, there was no way for him to save those stones. He can only get that Sente move. And so you can see now, finally, white got all those points. Oh, wrong color. Yeah, these are all white's points, in addition to the huge right side that he already had over here, and all of that. So with the reduction on the left side combined with the surprise expansion via cut in the center here, this was really not supposed to be white's territory. Black should have been able to cover this. Something like clamp, for example, would be more than enough if white goes after these stones. It's not a big deal. We can just come in and reduce, right? So the difference between black being able to reduce with something like this would clearly be a mistake variation for white, where black is reducing all the way, but you can see how vast a difference it is for white to suddenly capture everything, rather than black being able to break it and look to reduce in Sente. So with those final steps here, Guan Yu managed to make a strong save of the top upper left group, and then as the game is about to enter the end game, he precisely pushes black back in the moment where he can't really do anything stronger than that, where black is actually supposed to be doing the strong things, and then cuts black apart in a position where he really does have the power to do stuff like that. Everything is just perfect for Guan Yu here to end the game. And they played on all the way through the end of the game, I think mostly so that Eric and Guan Yu could use the time to refresh. Like, Eric, I'm sure, knows that he's losing a lot, and Guan Yu is just going to continue to play the game. But Eric is using this time to prepare for the second game mentally. I think this tournament is very fast. They played that second game really quick after the first one. Relatively speaking, it was same day deal. So finally, the game ends, and Guan Yu wins by 12.5 points. Then in the second game, Eric got some chances again, but not enough to win, and Guan Yu became our newest pro. Congratulations to him. Really, really well deserved. I think he's, already going to be up there with the pros. Not our weakest pro, probably. And yeah, it was awesome. I'm sorry it took me so long to cover. But I'm back, ready, and another video coming in a few days. Be ready for it. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more. Feels so weird to say that. I'm not a YouTuber, I don't know. I'm a YouTuber, but I don't feel like it. I should feel like it. I'll make more YouTube videos, guys. I promise. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much. And for all the support. I've gained 1,000 subscribers without making enough videos for you guys. So more videos coming, I promise. Toodaloo.